back to Palatable Politics, a show where we take the complexity out of politics to make it palatable for you. With me, your host, TJ Maslela. Welcome to the show. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing water and sanitation, how it impacts you and I. Here to give us insight is none other than the Minister himself, Mr. Senzo Mchunu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
To you and the viewers.
Thank you. So let's start with, can you give us an outline as to what the department's responsibilities are and objectives?
Well, in the main, there are two broad streams of responsibility that we have as water and sanitation in the Republic of South Africa. One is to manage water resources countrywide. This is rivers, which are the sources of water, dams, which are the secondary sources of water, but we also extend our responsibilities in terms of the law to bulk water supply to municipalities. We call it bulk water services to municipalities. Basically, there's the main task on one hand. On the other hand, we issue what is called norms and standards to municipalities, which direct them to comply with those norms and standards as they reticulate. In other words, as they provide this service called water service management, which is the second part of the two streams that we deal with in water services. This applies to businesses, applies to agriculture, businesses, and so on. So it's on one hand, we do actual work, that is water resource management. On the other, we work with municipalities. By and large, those municipalities called water service authorities. They are the main suppliers to your homes. They are the main suppliers to your municipalities and eventually to your homes. So very often, when there's no water in your home, without wanting to run away from responsibility overall, but in terms of the law, a water service authority, a municipality, is the one that articulates to you. They are the ones that charge you for services. They are the ones who do everything that has to do with water, even cleaning and so on. But I now want to qualify this in terms of the current context. Municipalities generally have declined in terms of their capacity and their ability to provide services, both on water and sanitation. We then now overlap and intervene and collaborate and cooperate with municipalities on behalf and for the sake, on one hand, of our government and the country, and on the basis that water is a right. So it can't be subjected to a condition where is this municipality able or is it not able. So we intervene on those spaces, but because the primary responsible sphere of government responsible for provision of water is the local, we then have to find our way to negotiate with them, to encourage them, to ask them, to allow us to intervene. That's the setup.
Okay, so let me just run it through.
Yeah.
There's the bulk water,
yeah,
which the department's responsible for, and
yes,
then that filtering to municipalities, and then municipalities are responsible to make sure that it comes to our taps.
Definitely.
Okay.
But we also have an added responsibility. We treat water. As soon as we extract it from dams and rivers, we normally treat water. So by the time we supply them that bulk, it's treated bulk. But in some cases, we give them raw water, and then they treat it in their own treatment plants. That's what happens.
Okay, well, we'll come back to the sanitation aspect of it.
Yeah.
But now you mentioned that there are municipalities that you guys intervene in. And you said if they allow. Does that mean that it's at their discretion? And I know there are some places where, if I'm not mistaken, it's Section 63.
Yes.
When you guys have used that. And what's the implication of the new National Water Act
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's, as I was saying, the legal framework or legislative framework, the architecture, designates them as a responsible level for articulation for water and water supply in general. But as I say, where they don't, we do have Section 63, which allows the Minister of Water and Sanitation to intervene, but it is you intervene in conjunction with Section 139, which is executed by a provincial government over a municipality. If it's dysfunctional, they take over in terms of 139. So it was proven to be ineffective because I can sit in Pretoria, look at the municipality being unable continuously to provide water to people, and people calling on us to intervene and do all sorts of things. And I have Section 63 to do so, but I'm prevented if there's no 139, hence the review, so that Section 63 works alone and not in conjunction with. But even with that, before we accomplish that, we go to municipalities directly and say, there's a problem here. And very often they say, no, there's no problem. And then we say, here is the problem. And then we start talking. Sometimes it's long, sometimes it's not long, because they sometimes feel that we are acting like a big brother, or sometimes they feel we're undermining them. Sometimes we are taking over what belongs to them in terms of the Constitution, in terms of the Act. But at the end of the day, I think we must all come on board and saying it's people first. Notwithstanding legislation, we respect the law. We respect local government. We respect individual municipalities. And so we don't just come with pipes and connect them to homes. We talk. But it's an extra duty, especially where a municipality already can't provide water, to take a week discussing the obvious. And therefore, I encourage municipalities that we come on board. We are humble people. We just are interested in service. We are not taking their powers. We are not undermining them. And as soon as that service is provided, we pull out.
Okay. Now, the sanitation aspect. I see that you have raised concern that there are some municipalities with regards to the water waste treatment. I assume that's some of the things you're talking about. How do we, I guess, one, make sure that the water is safe if a municipality is taking time?
Yes. No, there is something called drops, a blue drop, which measures the quality of water that each municipality provides to people. And they are compelled by law that drinking water or potable water must be tested, must be measured in terms of its quality. Now, we dropped these blue drop measures in 2015. That's when we last did one. We recitated them in 2021, the measures, and they are now in place fully. Every municipality, we monitor them, whether they do these checks all the time. So once the results of the blue drop show lesser quality than needs to be complied with, we then intervene there. Firstly, we give them directives. If they don't comply, we take them to court. But at the same time, because it's a sensitive matter, it's a health matter, we intervene and not to really waste time so sometimes we do both. But as you know, when we tried to do this in S1E at some point, they prevented us from doing this. We persuaded local government in Gauteng to impose 139 to enable us to impose Section 63. S1E challenged local government in Gauteng. They succeeded, and it resulted into a stalemate. Otherwise, things wouldn't have deteriorated to a point where they have been, so that we now chase things from behind, as we are doing now, to when the new mayor came in S1E, he then came forward, and then we started collaborating, and things are moving towards the right direction now.
So, between that time where you guys have identified that there's a problem here, might not be
Yes.
safe, for the viewers and I, how do we know, okay, let's hold back from drinking this water? Is there a communication that goes out? Is there a place where we can get...
Municipalities are supposed to communicate with residents on a regular basis, especially once the blue drop compliance, once they fail it, or once they score below it. They need, even without us, they are compelled by law. On the other hand, once they are just out of water on sanitation now, when you flush, what you flush goes to the conveyors, and it goes to wastewater treatment plant, and they treat what they receive in the plant. But ultimately, once wastewater has been treated, it gets released to the river. When it gets released to the river, it must comply with certain levels. We call that green drop, because water naturally gets used by people lower down, and lower down, and lower down. So it's not allowed that you release from your plant wastewater that has not been treated such that it complies. So your effluence doesn't comply with the measurements. So if we find that out, we give you directives within which you must you comply within a number of days. You fail, we take you to court. But again, because it's a sensitive matter, we intervene on the plant itself, and there are a number of these plants that we're intervening on. In fact, there are 30 treatment plants in the country in almost a similar number of municipalities that have been regarded as the worst in the country, and we're collaborating with local government to do turnarounds, and we're moving ahead with that. So it's a serious matter.
With regards to the aspect of infrastructure, especially around the water catch, that thing, we know where the rain comes, that water catchment system, and also the drainage system, who's responsible for that? Is that a municipality issue?
What responsibility?
So, basically when it rains and that water that's supposed to be captured and filtered to whichever treatment center it is. Also, when it floods and drainage, now there's a mini flood. When
there's a flood?
Yeah, basically because of a drain blockage.
Okay.
Is that a municipality thing to maintain that infrastructure?
Well,
or is that department?
The runoff water isn't anyone's responsibility, if I get you correctly. If it rains and it goes, water runs on the road, and there is somehow failure on that system, it belongs to the municipality's Department of Roads. That's how they did it. We don't come in. We only come in when, for instance, we encourage a municipality to encourage residents to harvest water via JoJo's and all of that, or we do other catchment measures like directing water to some kind of catchments, maybe a reservoir, a ground reservoir or something. It depends on what is there in that area and what they can process and so on.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Lastly, with regards to whether it be through business intervention, through individuals that have ideas to how to create water, how to turn seawater, how do they go about that when someone has an idea, a tabo there?
Yes. We have created an office. We call it a water partnership office. It operates at a national level, and in that office, it is a DBSA, the Development Bank of South Africa, and ourselves, DWS. But largely, because it had to do with water, we are the ones who play a major role in that, in running that office. But what happens is that if a business person or a private person, a private company, has ideas, just like they do, whether international or local, we send them there. They present they make presentations there, and there are 5 programs in the main that they are processing. If I remember all of them, one is on management of contracts between a municipality and the contracted. Okay. Because municipalities sometimes fail because they can't run a contract. They can't manage it. But there's also diesel. If a private company wants to sell desalinated water to a municipality, we send them there to for packaging and relating with that municipality and costs and all of that. But also there is water reuse, and I'm sure there are other 2, but it's 5 programs in the main, and I'm sure we can have a 6th program. But otherwise, most of what people bring to us, it belongs to municipalities, because, like chemicals, for instance, we don't do any chemicals. It's municipalities and water boards that apply chemicals, because, as I said, some of the plants are run by ourselves, but through boards, and they're the ones who order chemicals and so on. But we're interested in, we do listen though. When somebody wants to come and make a presentation, even though we're not big in that, because we find ourselves sitting the whole day listening to different, and we don't work. But we do listen to people and then direct them that you rather go there so that your ideas can be entertained. Okay, and we're encouraging them to, especially young Africans, to explore possibilities, just like there are a number of them who are there. But by the way, that's not the only business opportunity. On construction, they are also there. So construction and on these programs, but also even on what I've just explained, that others on various aspects of water processing, they are there, and so on. So they help, even on maintenance. Some do maintenance with municipalities and so on. Okay. Yeah.
Really the last one.
Yes.
We are basically, well, we haven't reached crisis level yet.
Yes.
But there are water concerns.
Yes.
What are we doing in the long term to, 1, prevent the crisis, and 2, make sure that there's water security?
We're a water scarce country as a country, among the top 30 to 33 in terms of water scarcity. But we just have enough water for our needs, all of us as South Africans. And therefore, on the side of water resources, we don't have a near crisis situation. We're stable. Remember, we have a number of programs or projects that are meant to augment what we already have. Your Lesotho, your other various schemes, including Vaal-Gamagara in Northern Cape, Khomas in KZN, Zimvubu, Nandone. We have all of this. But where we are on a near crisis situation, not yet there, it's on services, mainly because of infrastructure. Yes, high consumption is one area, but the main thing is our non-revenue water is at 46%, and that's too high compared to an average internationally of 30. Non-revenue is what? It's water that is not billed, that you supply but you don't bill it, so you don't get anything back. But it also includes water that leaks directly from your pipes, as you try to convey. Now, that figure combined is at 46%. And that's our major headache, because municipalities have not been investing such that their infrastructure keeps water inside pipes, and they use it and they convey water without losing anything. So if we can correct that, and we're encouraging and we're almost fighting municipalities to invest in water, and we're supervising and doing all sorts of things, monitoring. But we ourselves are also doing so via grants, in some cases directly, and via water boards, to say there must be efficient and proper infrastructure that conveys water to people. If we can just close and be below average at around 15%, for instance, on water losses directly, then South Africa is okay. Stable, fine, no crisis. But we're getting there.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to clarify, add, that you think the department should?
I would just want to say that let's conserve water as South Africans. True. Look at Gqeberha. No one would have ever thought that you could be 7 years without rain in that. The problem with Gqeberha is that its water storages, the dams and so on, the two systems that supply them, is about 100 kilometers away now towards the west. Now, it's often in the mountains where these catchments are. It doesn't rain. It can rain at Gqeberha every week, whatever, get wet, but water will just run off to the sea. And it rains without adding a single drop to the storages. But recently it rained, and dams are overflowing for the first time in 8 years, 7.5 years. And we're delighted about this, but in the meantime, what we're doing, we're working with them to conserve water, restricting. They were crying, they were fighting, they were like wanting to take us to court at some point. We were steadfast to say, those restrictions are better than no water at all. And therefore, let's conserve water. Let's be educated. We don't have much water ourselves, but the water that we have, let's conserve it. It's true and it's important.
No, thank you. Guys, for your guys' benefits, I'm going to add the link to the department and also where you can find the initiatives and how to get into contact with the department. But thank you. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you.
Subscribe, like, share, follow, and tune in next week. Thank you.